Hello, you're watching the daily streams of the Hoeksteen Live, and I want to start with giving a hello to our friend Ivan in Berlin. And then we're going to go to the first part of this stream. We're going to go to the weather report. And the weather report today is brought to you by me. And I'm going to tell you what the weather is. The weather is in Amsterdam. It's partly cloudy. It's 6 degrees at the moment. The sun is shining. Then we go to Bogota, Colombia, where it's mostly cloudy and it's 13 degrees.
Sorry, we have this too. Can you hold it like this? Because too much light.
We have a problem with the lighting here.
Let's go there.
There
Yes,
you have
here,
it.
here you were. Oh, wait.
Wait, please. No.
No, don't. Okay. 1 second, please. 1 second, because I don't. Can you move it a bit? It's very slowly. No. Let's stand here.
¿Qué pasa? Well, dan ga ik het maar voorlezen. I read it out to the people. You cannot see this is Amsterdam, 6 degrees. Bogota, 13 degrees. We're trying to get the picture here. Then Bogota, 30 degrees, partly cloudy. New York, -7, cloudy. Paris, mostly cool, 5 degrees. Madrid, there is foggy with 5 degrees. Berlin, where it's mostly cloudy, 6 degrees. Miami, 20 degrees, foggy. Abu Dhabi, mostly sunny, 23 degrees. Maastricht, 4 degrees, partly cloudy. Hong Kong, hey, there you have it. Hong Kong, 16 degrees. You see, dear people, it can work. And then it's gone again. Cartagena de las Indias, you see, mostly sunny, 27 degrees. Lucky bastards down there. And Barcelona, mostly sunny, 16 degrees. London, partly cloudy, 7 degrees. Well, that's good for them, it's not raining. Antwerp, partly cloudy, 5 degrees. Brussels, partly cloudy, 4 degrees. Cali, mostly cloudy, 23 degrees. And for you who wonder where it is, that is in Colombia. Gassin, on the Côte d'Azur, mostly sunny, 16 degrees. Moscow, showers, 3 degrees. Well, it's for them, it's not bad. St. Petersburg, cloudy, 2 degrees. Lille, partly cloudy, 6 degrees. And that was it. And as you saw, there was a little problem with the connections. But on the other hand, this telephone, it gave me the weather report. I read it up to you and you saw that there was one page working. Hong Kong. Hey, Technology City, #1. And now we're going to switch to the second part of our program. We're going to try to run a video for you. And the first video we're going to run is a video that comes out of New Zealand. And let's see where it is. Yes. It's about
it. It's such an untapped mine of fantastic stories. You know, history, the culture here is just unbelievable. And so rather than see another cowboy film or another Chicago gangster movie or another Elizabeth I film from other people's cultures, how do we get, you know, really great looking, you know, films that are telling our stories?
Now we're asking essentially the big Hollywood studios that are flooding money into the system here to give something back to the local community of filmmakers. And we're personally committed to that as well. And I just want to say, as a new New Zealand resident, I'm personally committed to that. As opposed to being committed to it from a business only perspective.
It's kind of completely disgusting and teeth-clenchingly irritating that there's still only 9% of the women the films have been directed in New Zealand have been made by women, but that's not just New Zealand, it's a worldwide issue. And my challenge to the board and the group is, let's be the first. Let's really say this is enough.
Still planning for the first of the new Avatar films to be out at the end of the next year. Is that still on track?
No.
No.
It will shift to the following year. End of the following year. We like that. That's our kind of lucky date. It's been Peter's lucky date. Yes. Yeah, but we have to move in 1 year increments to preserve that date. So it actually gives us a little more breathing room, so to speak. It's the writing process. The writing process is very involved. We were probably a bit ambitious with that date to begin with, because if you think about it, it took me 6 months to write the first Avatar film. We're writing 3 together, so that's sort of an 18-month commitment, which is right about where we are.
And there you have it, my dear viewers. New Zealand, the Hollywood industry hitting New Zealand, the country, and giving back something to the country which they use so much in their films. And now we're going to go from New Zealand to China or to Somalia, whichever, or more specific, the combination between these two countries, and an in-depth reportage about it, about China's involvement in Somalia and Somalia's involvement with China. Watch it, please. Pauze. We're having a small technical problem also with this. Then we're going to go on to try to get some news from CNBC on the oil prices. And well, on the fuel prices to begin with. It's a short report, but hey, we run it for you. Well, we try to.
Saying that household income is. Do you think it will be that much? And the question is, should we expect the consumer to then spend that money on retail?
Yeah, there's puts and takes to the discretionary dollars that the consumer gets. What's important to note is healthcare costs are rising as well as food. And then if you think about apparel, there are really no dominant major trends. So there's not as much of a call to action in apparel. We tend to like handbags as well as beauty a little bit more for stability. And then if these discretionary dollars, as we interact with management teams, Cowan just hosted a conference, there'll be somewhat of a delayed lag in terms of spending, and the share gains aren't clear. As we quantify it, we quantify about 2 to 3 points of upside in terms of what could drive incremental numbers, into the next year. But we're still very selective, as it won't benefit retailers equally in our view.
Oliver, let's talk about which retailers it will benefit, because one would think that if people really find a benefit from saving an extra few dollars at the pump, it would be at the low end of the consumer space. But you also think some luxury names are due to benefit.
Yeah, we are. We like the global story at Tiffany. There's a product innovation story there with Tiffany Tea and self-purchasing. And I would say Target and Macy's are more of my mainstream ideas. We're very strongly belief in the high-end consumer. So we continue to believe the S&P performance, the wealth effect, as well as lower unemployment at the high end, as much as 400 basis points, is driving a healthier high-end consumer at large. So names that we like are kind of interesting. Costco and TJX, they don't typically screen as luxury names, but you'll find a lot of expensive cars in the parking lot, and they also screen to a wide household income. The other name I would cite in terms of luxury in the U.S. is Nordstrom. And Nordstrom's a real premium offering and has a great online piece. It actually has Nordstrom Rack and Nordstrom Full Line, but that's a higher end.
Help our viewers understand how your company is capitalizing on this work from home trend.
So I think if you think about the world of work in the last 20 years, it's changed hugely. A lot of that enabled by modern technology and mobility and the web. And previously where you would have had to have commute to an office in order to sit next to your technology in order to use it, now you can choose to use your technology and access your systems and run your company from wherever you are. And so we're seeing into when people set up businesses, they're choosing to do that on their terms.
And you provide, of course, accounting services in the cloud so that people can do all those sorts of services at home. Is it ultimately only going to be a success story for Xero in small and medium-sized enterprises? Because the bigger clients where human expertise and relationships are much more needed, does that mean that you're only focused on SMEs?
We're principally focused on SMEs. I mean, outside of the consumer marketplace globally, our customer focus is small business, predominantly small businesses, and they make up 98% of all businesses in most developed economies, and including the UK. And so that's a huge market. There are 5 million businesses in the UK, and 4.9 million of them are SMB. So it's a huge market, and so our business model is motivated around how do we capitalise and how do we service that audience rather than looking at the larger ones.
And even despite that focus, the likes of KPMG fighting back and starting to offer their own cloud-based services, that must give you cause for concern.
Absolutely not. In fact, KPMG have partnered with us in this particular endeavour of theirs. So, interesting that there are large accounting and professional services firms like KPMG also recognising that in this small business enterprise economy that's emerging, and with the technology that we have and the growth that we've seen over the last 7 years that we've been growing, we have over 400,000 businesses globally now using our software to run their businesses, and I think it's good news that firms as large as KPMG, right down to small accounting advisory services businesses are recognising this opportunity.
And really interesting story, your survey around millennials, and I want to understand what you think is driving this change. What is driving millennials to change the way they look for a job?
Well, first with the good news, I think the good news is that millennials continue to be very positive about business and the impact it makes on society as a whole. But I think there is a very strong message for business leaders coming out of this year's Deloitte survey that I think business leaders need to be much more focused, or just as focused on people and purpose as they are on products and profits. So millennials haven't changed that much in that they continue, when they look for a job, they looked for a business that espouses a very strong sense of purpose beyond just the profit motive. And they say that, most of them say that the company they work for still does espouse a strong sense of purpose, but the more challenging is that business leaders are too focused on short-term targets and their own personal reward rather than just generating profits and job creation. They think they should be much more focused on improving society as a whole and developing the skills and focusing on the growth and development of their staff.
And Steve, as you say, it's a very encouraging trend to see coming out of the millennial generation. I think one that jumped out for me that was more interesting was saying that only 28% of millennials say their organisation makes full use of their own skills. We've all been in jobs at times when we feel a little bit pressured, but that's quite a surprising percentage.
Yeah, and what is also comes out of the survey, because you're right about that, Will, but they also recognise that their academic careers didn't equip them with the skills that business value most. So things like leadership, sales and marketing, entrepreneurial skills and financial disciplines. So you could say that college is preparing students to be employable but not necessarily successful in business. So the interesting question is, whose problem is that? Because the business schools focus on developing such skills, but that is for the few, not the many, and graduates shouldn't need to have an MBA to be successful in business.
let's kick off with energy prices and what it means for US equities, because it surprised me the level of correlation we've seen in terms of equities to oil prices just as risk assets generally, when this should really be benefiting the US economy.
Well, I think it is benefiting the US economy, or I should say I think it will benefit the US economy. I think from an earnings standpoint, from corporate earnings standpoint, I think from just a headline basis, the initial news is all negative. You know, we see the commodity price coming down. We can see the implications for all companies. We've already seen a raft of energy companies slashing their capex budgets for next year, and I think you get a general sense that people are very nervous ahead of what the implications are for the U.S. economy in that environment. I would say, though, that when you see the lower commodity price feed into consumer spending, that is something we would expect to take a little bit longer to feed through. And so we probably get this initial negative, but longer term, we still think it's a positive.
When we talk about the energy sector itself, of course, the outlook for that sector is not fantastic at the moment. Looking through your notes before the show, at the margin, something that could be positive for the sector, you think is the Republican Congress?
Well, yes. I mean, there's no question that the shift in power in the Senate last year, or sorry, I should say in Congress last year, benefits the energy complex. We've seen it already. I mean, the Keystone Pipeline is now, I think, in front of Obama, having passed both houses. So, we're starting to see some of the things that haven't got through that will be positive for the sector start to emerge at the margin. So that will be positive. We contested, but will be positive. I think, the bigger problem that faces a lot of these energy companies is just cash flow and leverage level in the sector, and that's why you've seen for a lot of cases, that's why you've seen the equity prices track the commodity down. And quite what happens between here and over the next probably 2 years remains to be seen.
And there you had it, the news from this, and now we're going to go live, watch some television. We're going to see what's happening on the CNN network. We're going to turn up the volume, and there's something very interesting going on.
Mellon University say they can reduce commute times of urban workers by 40% using virtual traffic lights.
With this technology, traffic lights will be created on demand when a conflict is detected that both of us are trying to cross this intersection, and they will be torn down as soon as we don't need it.
Virtual traffic lights are only possible because of connected vehicle technology, which the US hopes to mandate for all cars in the future.
So our solution leverages this capability and says, since cars can talk to each other, we can manage the traffic control at intersections without infrastructure-based traffic lights.
The virtual light is delivered to the driver through a display unit.
When the driver is looking through the windshield, he sees on the windshield that going straight is a green light, turning right is a red light. So they come, they gradually stop at the intersection. So for 30 seconds, the vertical direction continues their trip. And after that 30 seconds, the responsibility of acting as the virtual traffic light passes over to the other direction. So in a round-robin fashion, this continues, and it's a seamless process. The driver doesn't get involved in this decision-making.
The developers say virtual traffic lights will cut carbon emissions, reduce accidents, and, perhaps most usefully every day, cut those annoying commute times.
What we are proposing is actually, it's almost like we are giving additional life to people. Life that is wasted on the road.
Remarkable technology. Let's hope if they do it, it will also be cyber secure. And that's it from Newsstream. I'm Anisha Tang, but please don't go anywhere. World Sport with my colleague Alex Thomas is up next.
And at the moment, at this moment we are working, and there we have it on a video of the Pope in Sri Lanka. And there you have it. the Pope in Sri Lanka.
Well, it's not just a question of when, surely it's also a question of how much and how exactly it's deployed.
That's absolutely right. I think the easiest way to do it is capital paid in shares as the ECB itself. So the Bundesbank effectively is the biggest bar in the secondary market. And the number that everyone's anchoring around, which I think is a sensible number to work with, is 500.
And there you have the pictures of the Pope's visit to Sri Lanka. He's probably somewhere in the west coast. There's a very poor sound, but we can improve it a little bit for you.
We've already had a war that tore us apart for 30 years, and people should take that as an example to say that there should be no religious conflict, no racial conflict.
It's a message the Catholic community here hopes Pope Francis will address during his 3-day visit to Sri Lanka. The vicious war between government forces and the separatist insurgency Tamil Tigers ended in 2009, but reconciliation has yet to happen. One of the main reasons Sri Lanka's Archbishop invited the Pope.
We had a military victory 5 years back, but whether after that there is a victory of the hearts is a question that we have to ask ourselves.
About 6% of the country's 21 million population are Catholic, more than 70% are Buddhist, the rest Hindus and Muslims. Sri Lankans are proud of their multi-religious, multi-ethnic heritage, but religious tensions in recent years has given some cause for concern. This map claims to show incidents of religious intolerance against Christians in 2014. Monk Ganasara's hardline Buddhist group is often blamed for the attacks. Like all Buddhists, we condemn violence, but when Christian evangelicals try to disrupt our societies, proselytize, break our Buddha statues, a rage develops deep inside and we react, he says. Violent incidents between people of different religions attract headlines, but leaders of all religious groups here say they are isolated and politically motivated.
These are extremists, they are not the majority. The Sri Lankan culture is porous culture because we have received from each other. I am a Catholic, but I am sure that Buddhism has influenced my thinking.
It is this coexistence of faiths Cardinal Ranjit wants Pope Francis to witness for himself. He says it's the only way forward for Christianity in Asia. Preparations are frantically underway. This is where Sri Lanka's first saint will be canonized, and then Pope Francis will celebrate Mass. Much of the beachfront area has been turned into a makeshift church where some 500,000 people are expected. Pope Francis's visit comes just days after an historic election in Sri Lanka. For many here, perhaps a blessed beginning. Sunima Udas, CNN, Colombo, Sri Lanka.
Amsterdam.
Again, the weather report for you. Amsterdam, 5 degrees. Bogota, 13 degrees.
If you spare a little of your imagination.
And then we have Nueva York, -7. Paris, 5 degrees.
Cloudy.
Madrid, 6 degrees.
Fog.
Berlin, 6 degrees.
Showers.
Miami, 21 degrees.
Fog.
Abu Dhabi, 23 degrees.
Mostly sunny. Barcelona.
15 degrees.
Mostly sunny.
London, 7 degrees.
Partly cloudy.
Not raining. Antwerp, 5 degrees.
Partly clouded.
Brussels, 4 degrees.
Showers.
Cali, 23 degrees.
Mostly cloudy.
Gasson, 15 degrees.
Partly cloudy.
Moscow, 3 degrees.
Showers.
St. Petersburg 2 degrees.
Cloudy.
Lille 6 degrees.
Partly cloudy.
And there, dear viewers, we overcame our technical problem with the weather report, so we brought it to you another time. We had some slight technical problems with this stream. We excuse our viewers for this.